Many congratulations to the top 3 qualifiers for the FIA Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix. In third place, Lando Norris. In second place, Max Verstappen. And taking a record 9th pole here at the Hungaroring and the 104th of his Formula One career, our pole sitter, Lewis Hamilton. Lewis, what an extraordinary performance. It's been a while since you were last on pole. What does this one mean to you?
I forgot what it feels like to sit in this spot. You've been hogging it for a while. I don't think I breathed the whole lap. I think I held my breath and I was just so out of breath at the end. But it's an extraordinary feeling, you know, after you've been here for such a long time and you've had the success before. Even though it's 104, it feels like the first. It's hard to explain just how special it feels, and I definitely don't think that we definitely weren't expecting to be fighting for pole today. Though George got pole last year and was looking great, these guys were looking so strong. But of course I was hoping to be as high up as possible. But then once we got to Q2 was looking quite decent all of a sudden, and obviously we were second. And then once we got to Q3, we're only a 10th off Max, and I knew I had more time I could find in the car. The majority of the time was being lost in turn 2 and 4, and particularly 4 and 11. I don't know if this guy's lifting through there, but the car was just not quite up to it on the previous laps. But the last one, I just had to send it and hope that I stayed on track, and I think I got closer to them, at least in those areas. But our last sector was particularly strong. Yeah, it was epic. It was epic, and I'm just so happy and happy for everyone in the team. You know, it's been a really, really difficult year and a half on a personal level, but then as a team collectively, so many ideas and trying to find the right path to be on and continue to keep the motivation in everyone and keep everyone driven, and that's been a challenge for all of us. So this is a team effort, and the team deserves this today.
You said the omens were good when you got to Q2, but you weren't happy with the car after practice yesterday. What did you change overnight? What have you found?
Oh yeah, I mean, we come into the week, we run the simulator, and the simulator sometimes feels good, sometimes feels terrible. And then we come to the track, and you're just always hopeful that when you get in, you've got somewhat of a decent balance and the car doesn't feel bad. But 9 times out of 10, you get in the car and you're like, damn, it really feels terrible. The balance is off, front to rear temperatures. There's always just an imbalance going through corners, and so we had a difficult. Yesterday just wasn't great for us, but what we do best is we work hard through the night. Team work hard on the simulator, and we get new direction for Saturday, and we made some really great changes to the car naturally last night, and it put us in a much better window. So I was then able to just build on that, and but as I said, these guys were rapid. It feels great to be up here fighting with these guys.
Now let's throw it forward to the Grand Prix tomorrow. You're starting in the best possible place. What kind of a race car have you got underneath?
Well, normally it's not a bad race car. We tend to have decent race pace. Max's race pace yesterday was, I think, quite extraordinary. I think they were quite a bit quicker than us. But yeah, if there's a way to hold position, and then maybe there's a fighting chance for us. So, but just even being up there in the top 3, that's new. We're going to have a great race, that's for sure.
All right, very well done. Thank you, Lewis. Max, coming to you. Brilliant performance by you, just 0.003 of a second behind Lewis. How did the car feel out there?
Terrible. Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are on the grid. If it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good. And the whole qualifying, I've been struggling a lot, the whole weekend really, with a shift in balance, like understeer, then you try to correct it, and it's oversteer, and it was just never in a good window. So I was struggling a lot in Q1, Q2. I mean, there's not much you can do really once you go into qualifying. But yeah, every time I got to the apex of the corner, it was just not gripping up for me. And that's probably the worst balance I can have in a car. And yeah, I tried to correct a few things in Q3, but there's only so much you can do. And I thought my first lap wasn't too bad, but it still felt like I was driving on ice with the front axle. It's just very peaky. Then in the second lap, already the first sector was just again off. Then I just raced a bit more in sector 2, which paid off. But then the last sector, I again lost the front, and yeah, just really inconsistent and difficult to, be progressive through qualifying. It was just hit and miss all the time. So I think with the upgrades we brought as well to this weekend, this is extremely disappointing from our side. I mean, we are P2, but looking at how the whole year has been, this I didn't expect to happen.
So just to clarify, are you extremely disappointed with the upgrades?
No, just the balance of the car.
Okay, and are the balance inconsistencies connected to the upgrades?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because we've been trying a few things. The upgrade looks good. It's just we didn't nail the balance of the car. As simple as that.
You found nearly a second between Q2 and Q3. That is more than the compound jump in tyre. Where did you find that time?
I cannot tell you because it's just so inconsistent. Like I just went out there and suddenly it just gripped up a little bit better. And then I put the second set and it's different again. So it was just, very difficult to drive today. Normally in qualifying, you build up to it. You have a bit of margin and you know exactly where and how to push more. Because normally, naturally, in your second run, you improve. But today, it was very hard.
Are you more hopeful for the race tomorrow? Lewis has already said that your race pace runs yesterday looked good.
Yeah, but I mean, I only used the soft. Yesterday was a lot colder as well, so it's not really that representative for what will happen tomorrow when it's even warmer. I think also yesterday maybe some other cars were still a little bit more off pace compared to today. So normally, like Lewis said as well, when they, let's say, are up front in qualifying, normally their race car is also quite strong. So I don't expect it to be a very straightforward race. I mean, I expect us to be quick, but the run here, it's not easy to pass, especially when you are quite closely matched in pace.
Max, you've said this year that you want a closer fight at the front. There was 85 thousandths of a second between the top three. You've got it now. Does this energize you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, for everyone it looks good, right? I mean, I'm just not happy with how my qualifying went just because of the balance. It has nothing to do with the gaps to other teams. But for sure, I think this qualifying was very exciting because every session, basically, you didn't really know who was actually going to be quickest, right? So I think that's a good thing.
All right, Max, very well done. Thank you. And Lando, what a job by McLaren. You were fastest in Q2 on the medium tyre. How did the car perform on the soft in Q3?
Good. I think the balance all the way through. I think the one we struggled with the most was probably the hard tyre in the beginning, but the medium and the soft I was pretty happy with. It's just 900s, it wasn't like it was a bad session. It's just probably when you're under a 10th of pole or 800ths of pole, you feel like that was within your driving, if you just did something slightly differently or just gone to total a little bit earlier, like 800ths, you feel like is in it. So I guess a little bit frustrating, especially to be so close, but at the same time still to be in P3. But we're also happy. I mean, I guess like Lewis said, he's been struggling, but if you look at where we've been in the last few years, I think we're even happier and we've gone through an even tougher time. We were fighting for 18th, 19th, 20th for the last year and in certain times. So for us to be consistently now 3 races in a row, competitive, to be so close to pole position is still a very good sign for us. So I'm happy, like mixed, I guess. I'm happy, but also frustrated to miss out on what could have been an even better position.
You downplayed expectations for this race after Silverstone.
Yep.
Have you been surprised by your pace?
I have been. I think the thing is, everyone says Budapest is a slow speed circuit, but really it's still, I'd say it's a lot closer to medium speed. You never even use second gear around the whole circuit, so the slower speed is still where we struggle. It's still where we're the worst, in the chicane and turn 1 and turn 10. Turn 12. It's still where we lose a lot of our time, but definitely close to be only 800 off pole position. I think we're pretty happy with that. So a little bit surprised, but at the same time, I think it's a good surprise.
And is this confirmation that McLaren can be competitive at every racetrack for the remainder of this year?
No, definitely not. Like I said, it's a medium speed circuit. It's not a slow speed circuit. So Yeah, I think again we're just happy with where we are. I'm very proud of the team and the progress we made. I think, like Zach said, we weren't expecting. We knew that the upgrade was a step, but to be consistently now 3 races on the trot in this position, sitting here now quite often, I'll make the most of it because I don't know how long it's gonna last. But yeah, I think it's still clear that we got some weaknesses, and those weaknesses are going to show in certain places. Even in Spa, we're going to struggle in certain places even more, like turn 1. I'm already scared of turn 1 in Spa, but. Yeah, there's many other things which are obviously very positive if we're still here and under a 10th of pole position. So, yeah, I'm happy. The team are doing a great job. I'm very proud of the progress you made. So happy to, I guess, surprised to be in P3, but a good surprise, especially with Oscar in P4.
And what about turn 1 here? Are you planning your attack on these 2 guys?
Yeah, I mean, Bottas isn't behind me at the minute, so that's a good start, but we'll see. It's going to be tough. Lewis, I think, is one of the best starters. Mercedes are very good starters, Lewis included. So to get them off the line is going to be a challenge. I think they're consistently one of the best starters on the grid. So to get a jump on him is going to be difficult. If Max can do what he did in Silverstone, that'll be wonderful. It changes every weekend. I think I just need to focus on getting a good start myself, focus on my own job, and we'll see from there.
All right, very well done to you as well. Let's throw this open to the floor. Name and publication, please. First one.
Jay Boxall-Lake, Autosport. A question for all 3, please. From the outside, it was a very, very exciting qualifying session. We had Joe on top in Q1, Lando on top in Q3, and then Lewis on top in Q3. Do you think that this is the new tyre rule coming into play and making qualifying so exciting, or would it have been like this anyway? Because I know you guys had some reservations. Thank you.
Lewis, perhaps we could start with you.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, people said that we criticized the ATA. I think it was more just the fact that just being conscious of the fans here. When we only have 1 set in the session, we have less running. And already when they changed the rule many years ago, when we only have 2 sets in the session, doesn't lead you to a lot of running, and we have less time on track as well. So. I'm not sure that was necessarily the best for the Friday for entertainment, but today it clearly provided great. It was great starting on the hard in the first session and then over to the medium. I generally enjoy the qualifying session in that respect, and I think when we're talking about sustainability, just taking 1 set of tires or 2 set of tires away is not enough. You know, we've got each weekend there's a lot of wet tires that get thrown away. Every single weekend. So we need to look at, and we really need to push to figure out how we can make sure that doesn't happen. That there's a lot more we can do there in terms of sustainability, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Alfa Romeo was quick all weekend, so for me there was no real surprise. I mean, probably some had a better lap than others on the hard and the medium, but I mean, probably on the soft tire they would have also been up there quite close, right? So for me, has not so much to do with the format. Of course, on a harder compound, it's also probably easier to lock up and stuff because you have lower grip. So probably a lot of people, they were yeah, just still not on it. But I don't know. I like the normal format. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I think when you have cars which are just very close, like we had now in Q3 on a soft, that was probably still the most exciting. So you can still also have that in Q1, Q2 on soft tires. So doesn't really matter the format. I think it's more important, like Lewis said on Friday, that we just run instead of just sit in the box. People are paying so much money to sit on the grandstand and you're not doing a lot of laps, so that's not ideal.
I don't think I need to add any more. I think we were lucky it rained on Friday. Otherwise, pretty much no one would have gone out and done many laps. So I think we saw like the best version of what it can be. Also the most simplistic, because it's quite confusing how things could work out. You know, you don't have to use the tires, you can save certain ones. So there's certain rules that we keep in place to kind of make it more simple for the fans to see. Like this confuses me sometimes still with how it is. So I don't know. I think like Max said, the Alfa Romeo was very quick all weekend. Since FP1 they were very fast. So I think it would have been exciting qualifying either way.
Thanks all. Next one.
Phil Duncan, PA. Lewis, you said this has been a difficult last year, 18 months for you on a personal level. Did you ever think that you might not get a moment like this again? And just looking ahead to tomorrow, it's obviously the best position you've been in for a while to win a race. How keen or desperate are you to actually convert that into a win?
I don't think there was. I mean, look, last year, for example, we were nowhere. I mean, those ups and downs. There was a moment where we were, as I said, George was up here, but I haven't been on. I don't think I've been on the front row since 2021. So, I always have belief. I always try to make. I just have that belief that someday, if we apply ourselves in the right way, we will get there. I guess it was just a question of how long would that be. And we started this season basically with the I'm not gonna say it actually, but it's like the twin of the previous car, basically twin sister or brother of the previous year's car. And so got in it, felt identical, and that was worrying. And so we've been on this journey of trying to undo some of the wrong decisions that we've taken, and it's taken far longer than we have all hoped it would take. But we're starting to see those benefits slowly, and we've still got some big steps that we need to take to really to be even more comfortable in the car, to be consistently challenging the front row. What was did I cover the last part? Oh, I could just imagine. Yeah, I think as keen as I was when I won my first Grand Prix in 2007 in Montreal.
Thank you, Lewis. Next one.
A question to Lewis. I asked you this 2 days ago about your experience and your driving style suiting the circuit. So how much of this lap how much of your driving style or experience attributed to the lap, and how much of it was the car improving?
Well, we didn't bring any upgrades this weekend, so the car is the same as before. There's a lot of, mostly for us, all the drivers here, they're exceptional, and such a huge part that probably, I don't know if it gets commented on, is having confidence in the vehicle that you're driving, with the tool that you're using. And when you lose that confidence, you shed a lot of time. And that's something last year I had no confidence in the car. Started out this season with very little confidence in the car, and bit by bit started to get the thing on the right rails, or on the right tracks, sorry. And this weekend here, whilst we struggle in the high speeds, so turn 4 and 11, not so great in those two, but the others, the cars have generally been quite good in the low speeds we've discovered in the last few races. So the confidence has finally come back, and that's what you're seeing today. It's literally just having the confidence to be able to throw that car into the corner, and it's going to stick. And also just after driving it for so long, you get used to it, and now it's there's not a fear that it's going to throw you off into the wall, apart from some of the high speeds a little bit every now and then. But yeah, so that's it, I would say.
Thank you. Next one.
Ben Sabor from Racing.hu. Question to all the drivers. In recent times, including today, there was so much shenanigans in the last corner in terms of the gentleman's agreement. You know how it goes. You want to start a flying lap, and due to traffic, there are some overtakes, and it creates a lot of frustration. Would you like a specific rule for that to solve this situation? Thank you.
Who'd like to start?
There's never been a gentleman's agreement, really, but we try to be respectful, but I think in that moment, everyone's panicking trying to get their laps, and it was.
I
hectic.
had to get my lap in.
Yeah,
my lap got
you went
taken
past
away.
several
so
people.
I was like a race out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Like, I had to get a lap in. Everyone leaves such big gaps. I started my lap like 2 seconds behind George, and I was good enough still for like a P8 or something. So, and that was on my second lap on the tire. So, I don't know. People just try and leave such big gaps. At some point, they screw themselves over and cost themselves a problem. So, yeah, I made the most of it today and did what I had to do to get my lap in.
Every man for himself at the end.
It is. It's true.
It was a dogfight. It was so cool. It was fun.
Max, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, normally when you have enough time, everyone kind of just follows each other for most of it. But at that point, yeah, there were some that still needed to get a lap in. And then you know that if you're not going, you will get effed. So you have to go. Otherwise, you will be the one who is getting screwed over in the last corner. And that creates that big of a mess. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens. I guess most of the time it works out for you, and sometimes, yeah, it bites you.
Next one, please.
Nicola Arneric from Racing Technica. Question for Lewis. First of all, congratulations. And can you give us an insight on where you gain performance throughout from yesterday? So mechanically and aerodynamically, what kind of job did you do with the team? Technically.
Yeah, with the car, I think George and I we arrived with the same setup except for just one change at the rear. And then going into P1, I decided to make a change, relatively big step mechanically. And it was kind of level, I would say, on the simulator, but the setup I have now was better. And so we made those changes, and then there was a couple of things that George had on the car that we were both testing different things, and we ended up going, that ended up being the better solution for us. And then through the session, it's how you utilize the tires, it's how you bring the tires in, making sure you have them, the front tires, for example, ready for turn one, without overheating the rear tires. And that's the struggle we have, particularly on the hard tire, for example. It's hard to get the front tires in. They start getting better and better through the race, through the run. And then when you go onto the medium tire, you can have a slower out lap. You know, like it's cascading the whole time. It's not the same. You're not doing the same out lap in every qualifying session. From the hard, you have to go faster. Then you have to do a guesstimate how much slower you go on the mediums. And then when you get the softs, you have to do another step. And then in between, it's just looking at every single corner where we are losing. I think for me, it was turn 1, 2, 4, and 11. And so I managed to fix 1. Pick up 2, so it wasn't such a loss. But when I thought I was going quick through 4, then I look at these guys who are just, I think particularly the McLarens are very, very strong through the high speed now. Yeah, it was impressive. So at the end, just had to send it. It was the last lap. I was a 10th and a half. I had to assume they're going to have another 10th, maybe up in the next lap. So I just gave it everything, and I was actually 4/10 up going into the last corner, but I think there was I don't know if it was a crosswind, but we got a big snap, and I lost a 10th and a half or something like that, almost 2 tenths. So close. You're saying it's so close with us. I would definitely been frustrated if I had lost that.
Thank you. Yep, next one.
Hamza Khalid Luna at the Times. Lewis, a question to you. This season, you haven't looked, last season as well, you haven't looked as if you're enjoying yourself. You've said a lot of times it's quite challenging. Would you say today you were actually enjoying yourself again? And when was the last time you enjoyed yourself like this?
Well, I mean, I think I've been enjoying myself more this year. In truth, just generally the car's not been enjoyable to drive. It really hasn't. Last year particularly, there wasn't a day that the car was enjoyable to drive. And it's a Formula 1 car, and you want to be able to enjoy it, but it was just so nervous. Every time it's like you're treading on eggshells. As you start to apply the steering, you're going to lose the back end all the time because our aero balance isn't where it needs to be. And so as I said, as I started getting this confidence back today, today was a fun day. You know, when you can really throw it into the corners and know that it's going to just about stick with you. And it was definitely still a fight through the lap. I think we still lack rear end, and that's our weakest point. And so, but yeah, today definitely was fun. I mean, to come around, I know I was one of the last people to cross the line, so I didn't really know whereabouts I would be. And then when I heard Bono come on the radio, I just had a huge grin on my face, and what a feeling, an uplifting feeling for everyone in the team.
Thank you. We've got time for one more. Who's got it, please?
Ronald Voding, motorsport.com. It's a question to Max. Do you feel the balance issues are in any way related to this qualifying format and especially having less running on a Friday, less tires to run? Or do you feel you would still be able to do the build up to qualifying the way you would normally like?
No, I mean, I don't think it is related to that. We tried quite a few things, but we just didn't do the right thing at the end, I guess. Sometimes it happens. I think so far for most of the year, we have actually nailed it for basically all the qualifyings. I was always quite happy, and yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. That's how it goes. You cannot always be perfect. I know that, but I want to always try and be as close as possible to perfection. And yeah, I think today we just lacked a bit, but that's over one lap. Tomorrow it's going to be even warmer. With actually the balance I had today, that's probably not a bad thing.
Thank you, Max. Well done to all three of you. Best of luck tomorrow. Thank you.